there is one thing that I keep wondering, right? Because we know each other for a long time, and you have always been somebody that's always tried to do the best you could. I mean, and you generally care about people. Um, it, do you remember any? I mean, what was the instance, or what was exactly what it was shared with you that hit home, like, okay, I really need to reframe this whole white privilege thing, because otherwise I'm not really making any difference here. Is there something you can share that you go like, oh my gosh, that was kind of that moment to me?
Yeah, and it's hard to nail down, a couple things, but honestly, there, I think there's a couple things. The first is that when that was first approached, like, hey, maybe you don't need to think about it in terms of white privilege, but white advantage. And the fact that was coming from a black man, so Jared, to me, it was almost like there was a step that he took and saying, hey, I think sometimes white people just hear white privilege and the wall goes up and it's like, it feels like you're attacking me. But the fact that Jared said, hey, would you consider the fact that you have an advantage? And it was somewhat like he opened the door. And then for me, I think that just I try to have a lot of empathy just naturally. And so, I have one-on-ones with my people, things like that. I really am genuinely interested in what's going on in their lives too. And so trying to be keyed into, what is going on in that person's life, I think is also something there. So honestly, that what really opened the door for me was spending time with Gravel, and it's similar to what, you maybe do with some of the other people who've been on it tuned in, is once you really start to just have a conversation where there's nothing else going on and just, actively trying to understand what it's like to be in somebody else's shoes. And so you might ask, like, well, why is it, what is it about me that makes you want to try to be in somebody else's shoes? I really understand that. And honestly, part of me, that's just how I'm wired, is maybe like a natural curiosity. But I think also just, trying to do better. It really is like, what is it that we can do to help, blacks and help for us to really try to be the country that we're supposed to be, in the United States, that all men, all women are created equal. And so for me, that was also a realization too, that if we acknowledge that we have an advantage, then maybe that's something that we're not entitled to. Maybe that's something that we need to try to help each other to be able to not just coexist, but be successful together.
And in a way, level the playing field, right?
Yeah.
Because as you go through life, always looking over your shoulder, or wondering whether you're being targeted for just the way you look or the way you speak and all that. I mean, it takes a toll on you over time, right? And if there is someone that still believe that we have a level playing field, while several of us go through life with that target on our backs, we are kidding ourselves, right? So
no, and honestly, like when you, and again, when I was spending time with Gravel kind of talking about this, is like you just described target on your back, and that's what what I felt from him was the weight of that, that it's you, and for me to not have to have that, it's just hard to deny that we don't have an advantage in that, and not just from an opportunity sense, but also just like a psychological energy that you're having to spend, wondering about that, for not only for yourself but for your family, things like that. It's difficult. It has to be.
And Greg, I mean, with everything you've learned so far, and the mentoring sessions, and all the self-reflection and all that, in what ways that change your behavior, or how you go about inclusion and diversity these days?
I'm definitely, open to having these kind of conversations now with, with anybody, women, black, females, whatever. Whereas before it would be a space that I really wasn't comfortable going into. And so I think this experience now and just, help me understand what's going on. I think it's made me a little bit more empathetic.